If it's important enough, you'll find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse. So just the other day, I was speaking with a teammate who was telling me about an opportunity that had just come their way. And they got really excited about that and thought, actually, this would be really good, wouldn't it? And then as they spoke about it, they started to think about all of the hurdles that they needed to overcome and all of the things they needed to put in place before then making that opportunity come alive. And they got themselves to the place of, actually, I'm probably not going to do this now. It's, there's almost too many things in the way. And at that point, all I really was doing was listening to them vocalising first the excitement and then effectively what was coming out as excuses. And my job really was then just to literally point to this thing behind me, which I don't know if you can see that on the video, but it says, if it's important enough, you'll find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse. And at that point, that you started to see the change of mindset that got that person's kind of to say, actually, I'm just coming up with excuses, haven't I? And then the brain kicked into, well, I do want to do this, and therefore, what are the ways that I can overcome some of these hurdles? And there were legitimate things that needed to be kind of put in place before the opportunity could be fully realised. But importantly, the brain had been switched into much more constructive mode of how do I, as opposed to I can't. And so as a coach, I didn't really do that much other than to listen, to spot what was happening, and then to use an appropriate resource. In this case, it was that saying, just to almost hold up as a point for people to assess themselves against. And very often it's a case, it can be a quote, a motto, it can be a framework, or it can be maybe something that the person has said previously that now when you're listening to them, that it almost jars against what they say previously. You can just remind them of that. It just says, look, how does that fit with what you've maybe said before or thought before? And almost that calling people out and allowing them to come to their own conclusions off of that is a really helpful thing to do as a coach, and that can help kind of spin people into a much more positive, forward-moving direction. So there we go. What kind of coaching are you doing with your people?